Day 3 of Advent of Code. So day 1, I struggled through on camera. Day 2, I solved the challenge before recording myself. So this is day 3. We're going to take kind of a Goldilocks approach of those two methods. And you let me know which you like better. Do you like watching me struggle the whole way through? Do you like me presenting you with just an explanation of what I've been searching for, or do you like this kind of in between? Let me know. So if you're new to Advent of Code is a yearly coding challenge around Christmas time. It was developed by this guy, and it's just a fun way to re-engage, at least for me, re-engage with programming, because I just haven't really touched it in a while. My GitHub tree is doing better since starting this, but it's still, I still burn days of filming and editing where I'm not posting code. So we're trying to solve my GitHub issue, we're trying to re-engage in coding, and we're trying to do something fun and Christmas themed, hence the coding challenge. So for day 3, we have our binary diagnostics. So our elves have been traveling in this submarine, and we hear some creaking, we hear some noise, and we see this diagnostic report that's just a bunch of what looks like binary values, and we have to ingest that data and find out what's going on with our sub. I created a sub marine right there. That was fun. That was completely unnecessary. It took far longer to create that and put that together for a 3-second clip intro. It was real, or a 3-second clip in the video. It was really funny, but it's gonna hang out back there as a part of my shelf. So the trick for this puzzle is we have a long list of numbers, and we're supposed to compare the most common and least common digits within each column of the file. Now, it doesn't come as a table. We just have a bunch of strings. So we have to arrange the values in such a way that we can compare the columns of the values against each other within that data set. So I have some sample data here. I kind of broke down the numbers to make it easier for me to understand. So I took 5 values. I created the first 2 all zeros, second 2 all 1s, and the third one I can manipulate the data just to make sure that my logic is correct. And that's a good thing whenever you're facing a problem, and this is something I have to remember. Whenever I'm facing a larger problem, whenever I'm given a data set of 1,000 lines, I don't necessarily have to start with that data. I can take a subset or an example, work through the logic of the program, and then once I have the logic worked out, I can apply that to the larger data set and make sure that my logic holds out and makes sense. So the variables we're going to use in this program is the gamma rate, which is the most common bit in each position, the epsilon rate, which is the inverse of the gamma rate, so it's the least common bit within each position. In order to diagnose our elven submarine, we want to understand the power consumption, which is the multiplication of the gamma rate and the epsilon rate together. And that's going to be what solves our puzzle, hopefully. In the beginning, what we're going to do is read the data and ingest the file. We're going to throw them into a little array here, and then we're going to start iterating through that. So here I am with the problem so far. I'm reintroducing our friend, the for loop, bringing in the values and counting each position according to its assignment within the array. So X bracket 0, X bracket 1. I'm iterating through each of those listings for each position of the bit, and then I'm establishing a counter value depending on if it equals 0 or if it doesn't equal 0. Because we're binary values, it's either going to be a 0 or a 1. So as I was just explaining this, I realized already a fallacy in my code. I'll walk through what I see and how we're going to potentially fix this. So the issue we're running into is I can iterate through the list. I can determine what is the bit that is greater or less than by doing a simple compare between those two counters. What I'm running into is that I need to actually I need to come up with 2 different numbers. I need to have a binary interpretation of the values that have the most common digits within the data set, and then also another binary that have the least common digits within that data set. So doing a counter of one versus the other, I don't think it's going to get me what I want. What I actually need to do is do like a statistical analysis of the data and determine like most common, least common. I need to see if there's a function out there that can help me with this. So after a few moments of reviewing the problem statement, I'm realizing that my code is going to be exponentially increasing. It's going to make my program like 200 lines, and that's probably not the right way to go about it, because I don't think that day 3 involves a 300 plus line solution into this. You know, a good tip is if you're writing code and you're finding yourself repeating the same blocks of code over and over and over and over again, repeating yourself over and over and over again, repeating yourself over and over again, repeating yourself over and over again. If you're finding yourself repeating yourself, if you're finding that you're repeating yourself over and over and over again, take a step back, take a break, do a little bit more research, because there's probably an easier way to solve the problem. So that's what I'm going to go do now. So I took some time last night, played a little video games, took a little break, came back to the problem like right before bed, and realized like I was just making this, again, too complicated. That seems to be a theme in my coding so far. I just want to like brute force the logic until I take a step back, review, and say, wait, there's a much simpler way to do this. I brought in 2 elements that I think are important to kind of help me solve this problem. I'm filming all this before verifying whether or not this actually solves the problem, so I hope it does. But I'm zipping up all the elements in my array that I created. So basically, I'm taking each column and making it its own iterable object. And then 2, I'm bringing in just a statistical mode, which the mode says what is the most frequent element within the list. I learned that in a previous life in college and high school and all that, but I had just forgotten all about that function. So I'm bringing in mode, I'm bringing in zip, and then I'm identifying what is the most frequent object within that iterable list. So with that, I have a much cleaner code base. Instead of writing 300 lines of code, that function itself is about 10. Another 5 or so to take the gamma rate, invert that list to create my epsilon rate, and now I have a hopeful solution to this problem. So I'm not a patient person. I want to just see if my answer is right. So I'm just going to take these 2 numbers, convert them into decimal, multiply them together, and see if that is the actual solution. If so, we can spend a little bit of time cleaning up, that input, maybe do that calculation through programming and not manual, but I'm just being impatient right now. I want to see if the answer's right. I did it! Awesome. I got a gold star. Wow, I didn't think that was gonna work. I had some serious doubts. I mean, it works in my brain, but there's no feeling like getting a puzzle correct and solving a problem. It feels good. Alrighty, let's do some cleanup.